Hello and welcome to radiotimes.com's very special live Q&A for the Chase's upcoming Christmas specials. I'm Lauren Morris, and over the next 45 minutes, I'll be joined by two of the show's chasers who will be teasing the festive episodes and telling us everything there is to know about being ITV's resident quiz whizzes. We'll also be taking some questions from the virtual audience. So if you're watching live and you're dying to ask our guests a question, please do in the comments section, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. Unfortunately, we were supposed to be joined by Jenny Ryan today, but she's unable to make it tonight. However, we do have the Cinnamon and the Menace here to chat to us. So without further ado, let's welcome the Chasers, Paul Sinha. Hi, Paul. And Darragh Ennis.
Hi, Lauren.
Hello, how are you both doing?
Not too bad, really, given the weather. It's festive. It's just not going out. It's not leaving my house weather. That's all.
Yeah, no, good mulled wine weather.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, it's the perfect weather to be stuck inside watching this live stream.
Well, indeed. Every cloud, as I say.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited for the upcoming Christmas specials. So I know there's three. There's one on Christmas Day. There's one on Boxing Day, and there's a compilation episode on New Year's Day. Is that right?
New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve. Sorry, pardon me. I'm really looking forward to watching all of them, especially the first one, as I know you're both in Alice in Wonderland themed costumes. How did you both find that?
I can't remember. It was back last February, I think we recorded it. It's always fun, isn't it?
The dress-up shows are always hilarious because the costume team really pull out all the stops. I think it's the best day of the year for them. They get to have the most fun and really express themselves.
But it's incredibly, I mean, obviously it's really exciting recording the Christmas special, but the amount of work that you put in is just nothing compared to the makeup and costume people, because they're the ones dealing with five of us. We only have to deal with ourselves. They have to deal with five chasers at the same time simultaneously. It's such a well-oiled operation, considering.
Yeah, and we actually do a lot less work than we normally do, because normally we do the entire show, but in those shows we just do one segment of it and off we go. So yeah, they definitely do all the really heavy lifting.
Which makes it even worse when we get questions wrong. Because it's like we're only getting 6 questions and we got one of them wrong. It's a bit of a nightmare when we get ones wrong with Christmas specials.
And I mean, I'd love to chat to you about your outfits this year, because I know the Chase has a history of doing a different theme for each Christmas special. This year it was Alice in Wonderland. Paul, did you have any say in which character you were going to dress up as? As I know you were the White Rabbit, right?
How many times can I express the word no in many different ways? I honestly, I never get any say. I'm the opposite of that. I just go, whatever you want me to dress up in, I'll be that person. Because I lack visual panache. It's not something I can picture, or I leave that skill to other people. If they think that I'm going to look good in a particular outfit, it's not for me to argue. I will literally wear whatever it is that they decide that I would like to. I mean, I'd probably stop at a Nazi outfit, but that's probably about it. Other than that, if it's their choice and I'm there dressed how they want me to be dressed. No, I didn't get a choice, but that's not a complaint. It's very much that's the way it has always been, and I'm perfectly happy with that.
No, and Darragh, I know you're the Mad Hatter. Mm-hmm. How did you find that outfit?
Well, it was great. It was way more elaborate than I expected it, because the Alice in Wonderland idea was my idea. I suggested it to Helen, our producer, and she said, really? "It's a great idea." Because years and years ago, when I was a student, my wife and all of my friends and all of us got together and we dressed up as the entire cast of the show, and we went out in Dublin. It was really good, and I said, "Oh, it's a good one to do." And yeah, so I wanted to be the White Rabbit actually, but as Paul said, we just do what we're told when it comes to dressing.
We really are very, very obedient when it comes to this sort of thing. Yeah. I can't even imagine a scenario where we're going, hang on a second, I want to be so-and-so, and actually cause a fuss about it. It's not in our hands.
Well, I did very early on in my time on the show say that I would dress up in a chicken suit if they wanted me to, and I'm kind of being held to that now. I just do what I'm told.
No, I think that's the best way to go. I feel like the producers always know what they're doing, and from the first look pictures, you both look amazing anyway.
I felt amazing, I'll be honest with you. I've only had a chance to dress up about 5 times this year, so it felt good. It felt good being the White Rabbit.
Yeah.
Did it feel weird? Sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, it's fun dressing up. My main issue with my costume, it looked amazing, but the hat was spectacularly large and very heavy. And if I tilted my head at all, it would just fall off. So I had to like walk really, really upright. And there was only about that much clearance space between the top of the set and my hat. So I had to take really small steps as well. So I felt a bit like a clockwork soldier walking down the runway.
I mean, one thing that's not a consideration is personal comfort, is it? or what might help you answer questions? Because having a massive weight on your head doesn't really help when it comes to trying to answer questions. But
well, it could be worse. It could be Jenny's from last year when she was dressed as Cousin It.
Yes, that was amazing. That was amazing. Poor Jenny, was it? Because I couldn't see.
Yes, it was Jenny. Either that or someone else was wearing her glasses.
I mean, maybe this is actually what the Christmas specials are all about, to see how well you can answer questions whilst in the most ridiculous things obscuring your vision and your hearing. So maybe that's what Christmas.
Well, underneath it all, we are very competitive, and that doesn't actually change at Christmas. We know the odds are kind of against us because we only get a few questions, but I'm still just as grittily determined to get those right as I would be under normal circumstances. We are competitive people.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I also wanted to ask you how you therefore found the actual episode, Paul, in terms of the celebrities. Who is the one to watch out of the Christmas special celebs?
I can't remember. I was gone by the end of the episode, I think. I think all of them, to be perfectly honest with you. But I was delighted to get to play against the person that I played against because I know them personally and they're absolutely great. So I was delighted to get to play. I'm not going to give away who it was, but I was delighted with my matchup, shall we say.
Well, for those at home, if you don't know, in the first Christmas Day episode, it will be Danny O'Carroll from Mrs. Brown's Boys, Dr. Zoe Williams, Coronation Street Sarah Khan, and Charlotte Church. And I mean, out of those celebs, Darragh, who did you enjoy watching quiz the most?
Well, we've come up against Dr. Zoe before. She's been on Beat the Chasers. I think she's been on the regular celeb show before. So always a pleasure. Very, very bright and intelligent woman. And I was very impressed with her, to be honest. And Charlotte did really, really well, I thought. And, very personable, very engaging, very funny, and didn't crumble under the pressure. But that's not surprising.
We didn't think she would either, because what a lot of people don't know is that her and Mark the Beast go back quite a long way. I think Mark used to quiz in the same pub as Charlotte Church's family, so they actually know each other quite well. And if you add to that as well that I was on a show with Zoe Williams a few years ago about trying to beat diabetes, and I'm a former GP myself, there's a certain degree of this isn't the first time we're necessarily coming up against them, but they're picked for a reason as well. The celebrities are picked for their ability to withstand pressure as well. I think if you were going to collapse, I don't think they'd be cruel enough to put you in the showcase celebrity Christmas special. So the fact that they were all very good was not a surprise. It's hard to pick one out, really.
Yeah.
I mean, do you reckon it's harder to face the celebrities that you've already met and you may be friends with in comparison to those you don't know at all, or would you say it's the other way around?
Absolutely no difference whatsoever to me. Because it's a bigger audience with it being a celebrity episode, we're even more determined to win, which sounds a bit cruel when it's for charity and it's Christmas, but it's just an ego thing with the quizzes. Is we want to win every time we play, and so I don't really think about whether I know them. Although I think I've got a pretty good track record against stand-up comedians. I know Rob Beckett took me apart, and that still hurts to this day. It's not a good day at work when you're taken apart by Rob Beckett. But I've got a decent record of these people I know, I think. But it doesn't play on my mind. Or when we do any chase, whether it's charity or Beat the Chasers or the chase, all we want to do is answer as many questions as humanly possible.
Yeah, and as Paul said, we're very competitive and we're quite egotistical as a group. And not just us, though, Brad as well. You can see when the audience is in the studio, Brad gets all pumped up in energy and he's doing more jokes and he's more alive. And we feel that energy. And even though it is for charity, we so genuinely want to win that I think, if anything, I have no difference whatsoever between the regular shows and the celeb shows. I want to win.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. That's good to know. And on that note, actually moving on then to the Boxing Day show, so fans will get sort of a double dose of the Chase celebrity episodes this Christmas. And in the Boxing Day episode, I believe it's Darragh, you're in that, but Paul, you sit that one out, don't you?
Well, it's just pure mathematics, to be perfectly honest with you. There's a spot for 5 chasers, so somebody's got to. We can't stretch the format or have 2 people sat in the same seat for the final chase. That's just going to. I suppose if we did Through the Looking Glass, we could have had Tweedledum and Tweedledee in the in the seat at the end. But it's just maths.
I'm just imagining someone sharing the seat with Mark and trying to get an answer.
And I mean, how do you decide amongst yourselves which of you will sit which special out, or is it just done?
Good Lord, no. Whatever the opposite of that, the answer to that is the answer. We do as we're told. This must be stressed. Okay. This must be stressed again and again and again. We are very, very professional people that do what we're told.
Yeah, we are all egotistical, but in quiz terms, what the producers say goes. So we get told who's going to do them. That's how it is. So I missed the fancy dress special last year because I was the odd one out. That's just what happens.
And I think my white suit is glamorous enough as it is in normal existence. I didn't need the glamour episode as much as the other chases.
No, exactly.
That's the logic that I'm using, and I'm going to stick with it.
And I mean, for the Boxing Day special, so that is Vicky Michelle, Radzi Chinyanganga, Paralympic athlete Kadina Cox, and Sir Bradley Wiggins, who's in that one. So, Darragh, what can you tease to us about that episode?
Well, I think people will be genuinely surprised at how well a couple of those celebrities do. Because they're not all known for, academic fields or anything like that, but they do pretty well. A couple of them have a very good turnout. So I think people might be pleasantly surprised how a couple of them do. Yeah. And as well, after the show, I got talking to Radzi, and yeah, lovely guy. We got along really well, actually. So I was surprised that we had some weird things in common, actually. So it was really nice getting to talk to these people. I'm relatively new to this scene, so meeting all of these people who are super famous is a bit weird.
It never stops being weird, does it?
No, not really. I thought I would get used to it and I would be bored and jaded by it all, but it's just very, very surreal.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I can imagine it must be. I think I've seen Radzi on a few quiz shows now. Who do you reckon out of all the celebrities both of you have taken on has been the toughest competition?
The best player I've played against is either Steve Pemberton from League of Gentlemen / Inside Number 9, or my very first ever celeb one was against Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen. And even I've occasionally watched it because I think it's on YouTube, the episode. And he absolutely demolishes me in the final chase. He's absolutely amazing. And that's you sometimes just don't know who's going to be absolutely on fire in that final chase. Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen is probably the best player I've played against.
And then sometimes you just do know, because I did the Soccer Aid special this year and I got completely battered by the best team I've ever faced, including Sean Williamson, who's basically a ringer. He's a proper quizzer. David James, who's brilliant. I think he got 10 in his cash builder. Dion Dublin and Leanne Sanderson, and they put up, I think, 25.
I saw that episode the other day. It's an amazing performance. But if you want a dark horse, it's David James.
He's a very good quizzer.
David James, without wishing to be too rude, wasn't exactly what you'd call renowned for his intellect as a footballer for Liverpool, but he's a proper Renaissance man. He's a painter. He's a very thoughtful guy, and he's got a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things. And he's a real dark horse, general knowledge wise. Whereas Sean Williamson, we know. I mean, I know him personally through the world of quiz. I've been at quiz tournaments with Sean Williamson. And you want Barry from EastEnders to turn up because then you've got more chance of winning. But unfortunately, Sean Williamson turns up and you got no chance of winning at all.
No, that's interesting. I mean, on that note, is there a celebrity that's just completely surprised you? And I know you may have already answered that question. But yeah, is there anyone that took you by complete surprise with their knowledge?
When I lost to Rob Beckett, it was something of a surprise, having gigged with him many times over the years. He was very, very good indeed. Esther, not. I think David James probably the big, in terms of reputation and actual performance. I think David James was maybe the biggest surprise.
Yeah, I was very.
How about you, Darragh?
I was very surprised by David James as well. I assumed he was smart enough because Paula told me he was a good quizzer, but he was so good. I have another person who surprised me greatly, but that episode hasn't aired yet, so I'm not really allowed to say. But I had one that I filmed very recently who was spectacularly good. And when it comes out, people will know what I mean. But really, really strong celeb player that blew me out of the water completely.
Oh, I'm looking forward to watching
It's hard not to tell people about these things.
You're doing a very good job of
Matt Allwright on Celebrity Beat the Chasers was amazing as well.
He was
Matt Allwright. He's very, very good at a quiz.
And very fast to answer, really. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing who this mystery celebrity is, Darragh, when the episode does air. You've done a very good job of keeping their identity under wraps. And I wanted to ask both of you whether, for many people, Christmas Day is a big quizzing day. Is that a day that you both get involved in quizzes, or do you take a break?
On Christmas Day, it's very much I take a break because it's with the family. And although my sister likes to quiz, my nephew and niece, my mum and dad couldn't really give a fig either way. But Boxing Day is with the in-laws. Oliver's parents are. Their friends, they really like a quiz, and they also really like to set up a quiz that me and Oliver aren't going to win in the afternoon. So I have to sit through an enjoyable quiz, don't get me wrong, but one that's designed for neither me or Oliver to win.
Yeah, we don't do quizzes in my house. People tend not to want to play against me now. It's weird, but so we tend not to do them. If we are doing a quiz, if I'm at home with my parents and my brothers and sister and stuff, we tend to have large teams against me because I'm a professional, so that they can humiliate me and then say, "Oh, you're terrible. I don't know how you got that job." But
I mean, I sympathise. When we were growing up, people would often make the mistake of bringing out a game of Trivial Pursuit. By the time they played against me and my sister, it was like, "What? Why did we bring the game out?" I'm absolutely bored out of my mind. There's quite a big difference between a professional and an amateur at this level. And so, Boxing Day, I take my punishment, and I get questions like, "List all the ingredients of a Christmas pudding," and I'm like, "I'm out."
I do a quiz on over sort of WhatsApp with my friends from Canada, but I'm handicapped severely, so they get double points compared to what I do, and it's a Jeopardy format, so it's really, really hard for me to keep up. So yeah, I'm okay with that, to be honest. It makes it more fun.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to take either of you on a Christmas Day quiz, to be honest, but I'm happy to take on my own family. I feel like I have a decent.
If you do, just take me on in cricket, Paul on in Harry Potter, and you'll win.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, on that note, actually, I was going to ask you what your least favorite quiz topics are.
I don't really have any, because as far as I'm concerned, anything that you don't know is something you now know after the question's done. But I'm definitely bad at children's literature. I didn't read any fiction when I was a kid, and I've not actually read much fiction as an adult. But the difference is, adult fiction, they ask you who wrote the book. Whereas with kids' fiction, they say, in the third book in the Harry Potter Group of Seven, who was found hidden under a bed in the chamber of the level of detail you need in children's fiction is another level, and I'm only ever going to know it if I read the books, and that's not going to happen. So I just accept that there are areas that I'm not good at, and that's fine. You can't be good at everything.
Yeah, like I've got quite big weaknesses. So one of my big things is that I didn't grow up here. So similarly, I don't know where the motorways go. I don't know which county things are in, and it's really, really hard to learn that because it's such a large amount of detail. So
Oxford is Oxfordshire, though, Darragh.
I've got that one. I was in the Oxfordshire Quiz League this week. We had a quiz that was set by one of the guys, and about 3/4 of the questions were, based on British geography and 60s and 70s rock. So I was terrible. I didn't know anything. But like all of the old dudes around me were all like busily scribbling things down. That's the thing. It's a bit of a a trick. Everybody has limits to their knowledge, and unless you're a really, really brilliant broad quizzer, sometimes you just sit there and you have to say, "I haven't got a clue," and you can't even guess.
Yeah, I mean, I actually compared to an average person, I actually know quite a lot about Harry Potter. But compared to a Harry Potter fan, I know absolutely nothing. I mean,
yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah. So sorry, go on. Sorry, one of the things about it is quite a lot of the time we learn a very, very small amount about each topic because there's so many topics, and it's better to know the headline facts, which are more likely to be asked questions about. Going into detail about everything, it's rarely going to come up, so it's not worth it.
I mean, on the flip side, I'm sorry, Paul, go on.
I know, which is why very few of us read fiction anymore, because it's not time effective. If you read fiction, you only learn about 4 things, whereas if you read an encyclopedia, you learn loads of things.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, then the flip side to that question, I would say, is what would you consider your strongest quiz topics to be?
Mine is anything to do with the 1980s, because that's when I was a teenager. So pop music, sport, television, films of the 1980s, and things about who won what. For some reason, they stick in my head. Who won an Oscar for this film? Who won the Booker Prize for this book? That sort of thing. I'm quite good at who won what. Sean's also very good at who won what as a subject.
Yeah. He'll even remember the dates and the capacity of the crowd.
I mean, it's all about reading stuff and working and finding out what sticks in your head. And for some reason, that sticks in my head more than other stuff does.
Yeah, for me, it's history. My mother is a history teacher, or was a history teacher. She's retired now, and I was always good at it, especially military history and things. So other than that, it's just general pub quiz kind of level knowledge, random facts and things. But yeah, history would be my best one, despite the fact that I'm a scientist. But there was no history job, so I became a scientist instead.
And I mean, both of you, so Darragh, you've been on the chase now for just over 2 years, I think. Paul, it's been over 10 years. And I was wondering how both of you prepare for each episode after all this time. What would you say is are you still sort of revising up until filming?
Well, you don't know what you're going to get asked. So the first way of preparing is just to get your brain unclogged. Oliver usually is with me, but we also get just about half an hour before the start of the episode, we get just Ian, one of our producers, comes in and asks us something off about 40 or 50 questions from a 2015 quiz on the internet from the Merseyside Quiz League, and it just gets your brain unclogged and answering questions. And you never know. The thing about quizzing is you never know what random thing you heard 2 hours ago, 4 hours ago, 24 hours ago suddenly comes up as a question on the show. So it's not just about unclogging your brain. It's about trying to get really, really lucky as well. But in terms of actually preparing for the show, I think the most important thing is don't look stupid. So what I really mean by that is don't sit there and go, oh, I've never heard of John Legend. I think the best way to prepare, as I said once on the show, although it was just before he was properly famous. I think the main way of preparing for the show, The Chase, is just to keep up with what's going on in the world. It's important that you don't look out of touch and foolish on the show. If you don't know the name of someone's #1 hit record, that's not a problem. If you don't know who they are, that makes you look a little bit silly. And so my main preparation for The Chase is just keeping up with the world.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. It's not a stop-start process. I basically constantly prepare for shows, even when we're not filming. So I have, revision lists, and I look at the charts, like Paul said, so you know who's in whatever. You see what the name of Taylor Swift's new album is. You file it away. You file all these little facts away in your head. And one of the best ways to prepare is to do quizzes. So if you get a well-set quiz from a quiz league, so online quiz leagues or in person, they ask the kind of questions that you don't know. And like we've said before, it's not a bad question. It's just one you don't know the answer to. And then if it comes up again when you're on the show, you go, actually, the amount of times I said that was in a quiz I was in 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. And then getting them wrong.
Exactly. It's not an exciting explanation, but it's often the correct explanation. When Bradley says, how do you know that? Sometimes the answer is, I saw Daphne Fowler answer on an episode of Eggheads in 2007. And then that's the true answer. It's just stuck in your head from then. It's not a very exciting answer, but that's how we learn a lot of stuff, is by osmosis, just remembering a particular moment in time.
We spend an awful lot of time surfing through Wikipedia pages as well and clicking links and going on down weird rabbit holes of finding things out. And that can often be, it's a good way to do it because it makes connections. So you connect it to the different things. That helps you remember.
I think Darragh made a point as well that needs recognising, which is we don't prepare for the chase. We prepare for quizzes. The chase is the TV version of what we do every week anyway. Without the chase, me and Darragh would still be doing at least one quiz every week. And so what we do is we try and learn as many things as possible, and hopefully a load of them will come up on the chase.
Well, I wish I had the memory that both of you have. As you just, it seems like you must just be sponges in your brain.
Do you know what? It's not necessarily that at all. I don't consider myself to have a particularly spongy memory. It's just we're playing the game. We've got an active interest in quiz because it's our job, and therefore we're always going to know more facts than somebody whose job is somebody whose hobby isn't quizzing. If you don't have quizzing as a hobby, well, you're not going to know the question who won the Booker Prize in 2004. Because at no stage have you ever needed to know the answer to that question. It doesn't improve your quality of your life in any way. Whereas it improves the quality of my life, because it might get me a point on a quiz that I'm on.
Yeah, it's just knowledge. It's like you know how to drive in the area around your house. You know where the places get stuck with traffic, and you know that one's a one-way street off the top of your head. Whereas if you don't live there, you get lost. It's the same kind of thing.
No, definitely.
I always think the questions of the chase have two categories. One that anyone could know, and one that only if you're good at quizzes you know.
Oh, and then there's also the who the hell could possibly know this?
Or this is just a blind guess.
Yeah.
But say something like what does Tesco call its upmarket range of food? That's a question that you do not have to be a quizzer to know. But which of these actors won an Academy Award the earliest? Why would you care unless you were trying to win a quiz? There's just no reason to care. So there's real life questions and there's quiz questions.
Yeah.
No, it's all very interesting. I'm going to ask you one more question before we take some questions from the audience who are watching at home. Back to Christmas. What is your favourite? Might be a hard one, but what would you say is your favourite Christmas special from over the years? And while you answer that, I'm going to turn these automatic lights back on because they look a bit ominous here in the dark. So please go for it.
My one's easy. It's the one where we all had to dress up as people that had a Christmas #1, I think, or a Christmas hit. And I dressed up as Freddie Mercury. And the reason it's my favourite is because it was my first recorded episode for quite a while. And I'd lost 2 stone through dieting after the previous episode. So when I walked out as Freddie Mercury, Bradley was genuinely gobsmacked because he couldn't barely recognise the person he saw in front of him. So I have happy memories of and I really did look like Freddie Mercury as well. That was my favourite one. But it was also the one where Anne dressed as Madonna, if I remember right, as well. Oh no, Anne dressed as Jerry Halliwell, didn't she?
Yeah, Jerry Halliwell in the Union Jack dress.
Yeah, that was genuinely amazing.
Though, yeah, I really like this year's one purely because of Mark's outfit from Alice in Wonderland. The fact that exists as a concept, that Mark Lebet dressed as Alice in Wonderland is a thing, it's a great thing to add to the world. So I actually like this year.
Well, the one you chose.
Yeah.
The theme you chose is your favorite.
Yeah, well, I didn't envisage. I actually envisaged one of Jenny or Anne being Alice. I didn't think they would go to Mark necessarily.
Mark's waited his whole life to be Alice. We know that.
Do you think if you could have a say over next year's special, which we already know you might, Darragh, because clearly you're very influential, what would you both like it to be?
Superheroes would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd really like superheroes. I think there's copyright issues is the main problem, but it would be brilliant to have the world of comic books in general will be great.
We can make up the superheroes.
Oh yeah, fake superheroes.
Maybe I was bitten by a radioactive sinner.
Yeah, but comic books in general, and I could be Dennis the Menace. And
that's nice.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I'm sure you would all look look great in your various costumes. Darragh, if you had to make up your own superhero name, what would it be?
Oh, I have no idea. That's not a thing you can just jump off the top of your head, I think.
I'm sorry. I should have given
you sprung that one
time.
on me. Yeah, no,
well,
I would struggle.
That's okay. Well, in the meantime, we can now go to the audience and ask who've been asking questions this whole time. Here we have a question from Callum McLeod. I'm sorry, Callum, if I've just butchered your last name. He asks, is there going to be a new bloopers episode this year?
Yes, there is. It's going out on New Year's Eve, and it's suitably ridiculous. It's really, really funny. It's a good script, and we get Brad to do totally stupid things as always. So I think it's going to be a laugh. But New Year's Eve, I think at 8 p.m. I'm not sure of the time.
I think Darragh's got more info than I have. I did remember reading a script out at some stage, but I don't no idea what's in the episode. So I always look forward to it.
Well, it'll be a surprise for everyone then. How exciting. Thank you, Callum. Next, we have Lucy, and she would like to know, how are you finding celebrity status, and has it changed you with you at all?
How long have you got? What a wide-ranging and complex question with so many different answers. It is a double-edged sword without a shadow of a doubt. But I love the fact that I get bought free drinks when I go out drinking in any major city in Britain, and that will do me.
Yeah, it hasn't changed my day-to-day life. I actually know Lucy quite well. I've been on her podcast. She has a podcast about books called Buckle Up. But it hasn't changed my day-to-day life because my family don't believe in, dealing with this kind of stuff. But it's opened up this whole weird, surreal world where you get to do things you'd never be able to do before. So yeah, it's not changed me, but it's changed how I do things. It's great.
Incidentally, my previous world as a doctor, virtually none of my friends from medicine talk about it because they don't watch the show because they all work such long hours. Then they're never at home at 6 p.m. So I'm almost my life as a chaser is almost unknown to my medical school friends.
Yeah. When I go to work in the department here in the university, literally I'd say less than 1% of the people who are there have ever seen the show.
Really?
My boss, who I've worked for 10 years, has only watched like 2 episodes.
Oh wow! So you both really do live these sort of double lives, and in one of them, you're very big quiz names in the UK TV.
I also live in London where nobody recognises me at all either, because they look down rather than up. I don't get recognised in my home city, and that's lovely. I get recognised everywhere else I go, but not in my home city. And having both sides of that life is really nice.
Great. And now we have Couples TV Entertainment, who asks, who was the best contestant in the final chase? So Paul, who was that for you, do you reckon?
Well, if we talk about celebrity, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen, if we're talking about individuals, it's hard really to say because it's a team game, and also it depends on the difficulty level of the questions, but also the questions got a bit longer after about series 4 or 5, so we don't get to see the 26s, 27s, and 28s that we once used to in the first load of series. So I wouldn't really necessarily pick up one player over another. I can remember a guy called John who was a dentist up north. I think he was the one that got the most number of difficult questions right in the final chase. I just sat there going, go, again and again and again. It was a dentist called John from up north. But that wasn't a massive team score. That was just the most number of hard questions I've seen answered correctly.
I'm actually cut to the heart that he didn't say me because I played against Paul when I was a contestant.
I wasn't counting you.
For me, the most memorable was Eden, who was I think he was 20-year-old who was the last player, and everyone else on the team had gone out, so he went high, and he took me down for I think 75,000. It was my first big loss on the show. And I went out afterwards to congratulate him, but his mother had picked him up from the studio. I think he was 19 or 20 when he won the money. So, but I contacted him afterwards, and he said he had a great year with all the money. So, yeah, he's my favorite so far.
Oh wow! What great answer.
A lot of the best players don't win. There's some players who played spectacularly well in that final chase and got caught.
or they play and the team don't play well together or something.
Yeah,
it's sometimes you see really, really brilliant players just either tripping up or it all goes wrong for them and they don't win.
It really is. It really depends on that final chase. It can go either way sometimes. It's and that's what makes it a great show. So it's nail-biting stuff. Now we have Catherine, who's asked a question on Facebook. She says, is there a dream celebrity that you would like to face?
I've never really thought about it that much without it getting quite lustful. Stephen, I'd like to have a shot at Stephen Fry. That'd be amazing. It'd be great for the show to have Stephen Fry on the show, but it'd be great to try and, as a proper challenge, that would be an amazing one to try and take on. So I'd say Stephen Fry.
I would like to take down Richard Osman. I don't want him to be on the show. I want to beat him on the show.
Well, I know you said that a few times, Darragh, because he's he used to be your sort of TV rivals, but now he's not on Pointless anymore.
Yeah, I know. He's gone off to greener pastures now that he sells millions of books and things. But yeah,
does he rarely mentions it?
Yes. But I think he's a very engaging guy. I think he's quite clever. I think he'd be a good contestant. So
I'd like to see what he's made of general knowledge wise. Yeah, that'd be great. Because he is obviously a very
maybe now he's not on Pointless. It will free up some time for him to come on the chase instead.
Yeah,
be a bold move. Bradley on Pointless, Richard Osman on the chase.
Yeah. Do a little swap for a day. That'd be nice. Now we've got a question from Eve here. She wants to know if Beat the Chasers will be back next year.
As far as we're aware, yes. Yeah. Although I don't want to make any rash. Pronouncements in case the rug gets taken under our feet. But as far as we're aware, yes.
Yeah.
I can't really say any more than that.
Yeah.
How exciting! And Rory has asked whether you have a highlight from your time on the chase. A bit of a complicated comment there, but I think the gist he's asking is, do you have a highlight from the whole of your time on the chase, both of you?
After 11 years, it's really, really difficult to pick anything out. And it sounds like a sort of counterintuitive thing to say, but sometimes it's about a team that you really like actually doing the job and winning. Even though it's you that lost, that can be a highlight. But my all-time highlight is probably a woman who, in her cash builder, was asked which prime minister had the middle name Hilda, and answered John Prescott. Because we had to stop the recording for quite a while after that, and everyone expects Bradley to corpse because of everything that happened with Fanny Schmeller. But he actually rarely corpses at a question anymore, because if the question's funny in and of itself, that's not unexpected anymore. Whereas when people say really, really funny things out of the blue, that's unexpected, and that's when we really, really corpse.
Yeah, I think it's making Brad laugh is definitely really good fun, and if you can make him break down, that was my after being on the show and winning some shows, what I really wanted to do was to do that, and I managed to do it after about 5 or 6 months. So I made a gag about 2UU, the Nobel Prize winner, being the hardest person to sing Happy Birthday to, and it took about 2 seconds, but he just collapsed laughing, and that was my favorite moment. Actually, I thought that was great.
How often would you say that either the Chasers or Bradley corpse when filming each episode?
I'd love to say loads, but it's surprisingly rare. Well, most days it's a very enjoyable job. Don't get me wrong, but it's a job. It's a recording of an episode. The reason that the corpsing is always tends to go viral is because it doesn't happen very often. It's quite unusual. Bradley's too long in the tooth, not the face, but he's seen it all and he's heard it all. And something has to be really quite spectacular to make him corpse.
Yeah, he's much more likely to reply with a funnier joke to someone or something else that, fits than he is to corpse. So, yeah, it doesn't happen all that often. That's why I was so happy when I was able to do it, actually. Yeah, unless Anton Deck come on set and then he sort of corpses a bit. That's always fun.
And Catherine has also asked what it's like working with Mark Robert, and is he as fearsome off camera as he is on camera?
I don't even think he's particularly fearsome on camera, to be honest with you. He's just very, very confident. He's a very and he's a very, very good quizzer, and he knows he is. He's a very confident guy. There's a little bit of panto. There's a little bit of exaggeration in how he plays the game. Not a lot, to be perfectly honest, but he's very much playing. He's playing a character, but finding it quite easy to play that character. Yeah. In many ways, I think, and this is what I quite like about the Beast, is he's kind of always auditioning for panto, because his chase persona is so suited to panto. That's one of the feels like that's one of the reasons he's always on. He's advertising a brand. Offstage, of course, he's a pussycat.
Yeah, like he's not, as Paul says, he's not really playing much of a part. He has that really big personality, and he puts it out there in every show, and that's kind of what he's like. He's not quite as exaggeratedly the Beast, but he is a big man in every respect. He's big physically, and he is a big personality.
No, definitely. I mean, and he's one of the original chasers.
The original too, yeah. Him and Sean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they've been on it such a long time. It's such what an amazing feat. Yeah. I mean, moving on, Mindy has asked if you have any advice for anyone auditioning for The Chase or Beat the Chasers.
It's really hard because I've got no in on what they're looking for. I have no inside information. We don't talk to the people that audition people. We don't know what they're looking for. But I think the most important thing I'd say to anybody who wants to be on either version of the show is watch the show. Be aware of everything that goes on. Be aware of the sort of questions that get asked. Be aware that when there were certain questions that in the final chase, if there's only 5 possible options, don't buzz in and say pass. The young guy that beat you, the 20-year-old guy, Darragh, what's his name again? Eden. He had clearly watched the show. Because in his final chase, he knew what to guess when he didn't know the answer. And so I don't know if necessarily helps you getting on the show, but in terms of when you're on the show, please watch the show and notice things that happen, and therefore you'll be far more relaxed. Working out that, let's say when the questions come up in the head-to-head, there's got to be a reason why that question was asked. So try and guess the most interesting answers, stuff like that. But in terms of what to do with the audition, just go for it. You don't have to be brilliant at quiz, and we know that. You don't have to be brilliant at quiz to get on the show. You've got to be what they're looking for to be part of a team. And so don't hold back. Be yourself. Don't be shy. Just go for it, because you're more likely to get on the show taking risks at the audition than you are not.
The last thing that anybody wants on the show is a contestant who's going to be super, super nervous, really shy in front of cameras, So if you do something like that in your audition, they're not going to look at you and go, this is a great person who'll be funny and interesting on the show. So like Paul says, really go for it, I think. But for very good reasons, we are absolutely not allowed near the contestant team. So we don't really know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you remember much of what it was like when you actually took part on the show, Darragh? Did you have to audition?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I remember. This is the thing. The audition process is really short. They have to look at a lot of people. They need a lot of contestants. So they've got, I think it was an hour, something like that, and there's like 10 people in a room, and they have to ask them all questions, and they do a run through the show. You record a bit to camera, and that's all they have to go on. So, you really need to make an impact really in a very short amount of time at your interview, or else you're just going to get lost in the noise.
Well, definitely. Well,
stand out. Give them a reason to pick you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a great note to end our Q&A on. Thank you so much, Darragh and Paul. The time has flown. We only have a few seconds left. So thank you so much for joining us. And make sure everyone, you tune in on Christmas Day and Boxing Day to watch the Chase Christmas specials.
Thank you very much, Lauren.
Very exciting. Thanks, Lauren. No problem. And thanks everyone for watching at home.
And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.